Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. It's Crypto Wealth, and I have an incredible interview for you today. I'm so excited to be here on screen, on camera right now. You are looking at Corey. Corey is the Chief Marketing Officer. Is that the right word? Am I saying that right?
You can say marketing specialist. Yeah.
Marketing specialist. Corey is the man. He's going to be talking. If you saw my last video where I talked about Fuse, I'm incredibly excited about what they're doing. I'm uncertain on some of the finer details. I'm glad I got Zach here. Zach is going to be able to discuss some and clarify some of these details for us. He's passionate about this project, and I'm excited to hear what he's going to say with us. So before we get started, Zach, can you do me a favor and just kind of give us your brief overview or how you got into crypto in the first place?
Yeah, I appreciate the introduction too. So I kind of come from humble beginnings in this space. I wasn't some super shadowy coder or something along those lines that hacked his way into something and got on the radar. Right. I was playing ball. I actually played baseball from the States in college, and one of my buddies, one of my teammates, one day we're just hanging at the apartment, and he expressed to me, I'm looking at other financial routes or investments, and I'm looking at the stock market and whatnot. He said, "Man, have you heard of Bitcoin or Ethereum?" And I'm like, I've heard of it before. I haven't really done much research. I'm kind of a daredevil for people who don't know. So I take big risk with life and everything. So I'm like, okay, I'm down. I'll throw some at it. Let's see what it's about. And I did some research, got on Coinbase, the typical make your Coinbase account. And I used Coinbase because that was the one that was marketed to me. I didn't know any better. And bought some Bitcoin, bought some Ethereum, sat on it for like 2 months and was like, man, this is a waste of time. And I sold it, right? Looking back, I was buying Ethereum at $100 and stuff like that. I had no idea what I was holding, right? But what it did is it sparked the understanding of what crypto was and how it could be utilized. So I then came back, years later, start made a MetaMask and start playing with these different Ethereum compatible chains, and continue to grow and learn through all of my experience of trying these different applications on these different chains. I ran into the Fuse network, and I was making YouTube videos, something similar to actually what you were doing, what you currently do. I was making YouTube and different content. And it was just small scale. I was trying to explain to people, why this was beneficial for us financially. And Fuse got a hold of what I was doing. They basically told me, I love the way you're just putting this out for free. You have no motivation besides you want people to know about things and you want people to be, in the know. How would you like to come on board and explain to our community and people who are looking for their next move or their next investment, especially in terms of like a savings account or something like that they want higher returns on? How would you like to, do that for us? So that's how I started with Fuse. Now I was doing that for them, running some of their social channels, things along those lines at first. And then we always had in the plans that we wanted to create a DEX, really a DeFi hub. And that's when Voltage kind of was spawned, right? And here we are now.
Wow. So just out of curiosity, how long was it from when you bought that first crypto? Which, by the way, I want to say this. I love how you said there's two lessons for every cryptocurrency investor, two major ones in what you said. The first is don't expect the good projects to necessarily moon overnight. The rocket ships, I always say, don't chase the big wins. Just let the big wins come to you. If you're in the right part of this space, big wins are coming. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Enormous. I don't think we've seen in percentage in Bitcoin, maybe yes, maybe, but I don't think we've seen near our biggest gains across the entire market cap at all. That's just me personally. So the first thing you said is good projects, like you got into Bitcoin, you got into Ethereum, and they didn't moon overnight. So you got out within 30 days. How? And the other thing is you talked about having a passion for wanting people to understand how this technology is good for us in finance. And by the way, that's exactly how my channel originally started, because I felt like I needed to do something initially to get the word out. Unfortunately, as you probably have found out, it's not sexy content and not enough people want to pay attention to it. They're too busy looking for the next moonshot. So someone said to me, you must have called your channel Crypto Wealth because you wanted to get ahead. And I said, no, I called it Crypto Wealth because I figured it was going to be a byproduct of what was going to happen by being an early adopter. It wasn't about looking for the next moonshot. But people always want to know what's the next 100x, what's the next 10x, what's the next. That's all they're looking for, right? But I hope that people through videos like this will start to realize this is big stuff, especially with recent news events. The video I did introducing you all yesterday, that went up yesterday or day before yesterday now, when this goes up. So what is it? Tuesday. So when I did that video, the thing, that day, two major news stories, right? The prime minister is trying to cut down on finances. He's trying to, put the lock on what people can do with their own money, going as far as stopping their insurance on their vehicle, going as far as stopping GoFundMe type operations, crowdfunding, where people want to donate to a cause, saying, hey, you can't donate to that cause. We're not talking about a radical country. We're talking about a country that is known to be relatively passive here as a society. We're talking about Canada. And then he went as far as actually name cryptocurrency. That got up my skin so bad because I thought you can't do squat against cryptocurrency. He can't against Zach and against crypto wealth. He can put fines against us. Someone can go after us as individuals, but a society that wants to be civil disobedient in the area of economic finance, you can't stop it, which is what's incredible about this technology. And I think it's really incredible in what Fuse is trying to do. So what was the thing? And we'll go into the tech a little bit and the purpose, and we'll go into voltage, but what was the thing early on that made you attracted to Fuse as a project?
So what did it for me is the Fuse network is all about facilitating localized payments and payment services. They've done a couple, so like People Eats, which is basically like a food delivery service that's all operated through the Fuse wallet. And I have to do some distinctions, so I'll explain in detail what I mean by that. There's a Fuse wallet and there's Fuse Cash, which is also a wallet. But so the Fuse wallet was allowing anybody and everyone to do localized commerce. So like we had an event. There was a festival that wanted to do a mobile only payment for ticketing, food and things at the actual venue. That all took place on the Fuse wallet as well. So these were articles I was reading and figuring out that Fuse network, using the Fuse token, has figured out a way to allow everyday people to create their own economies. And I was just like, whoa. So I've heard of color coins. I've heard of other things of just studying the space for a long time. But in particular, anybody can go on the Fuse Studio, and with a couple clicks, you have made your own token, and it's all on the Fuse network, and you have your own economy. So let's say you're like a barber, right? And you want people to pay you only in your barber token that you made. Well, there's a fiat on-ramp for you to be able to get cash on and everything. So if you don't have their token, you can get into it, and then you can send it directly after you finish getting your haircut. Let's say you want to make a whole community out of this. Everybody can adopt this coin who are barbers or hairstylers, hairdressers, whatever it may be. And you now have this barber coin that's going between, this one economy. And this is something like we see it's happening now in the US with the city coins, like Miami coin, New York coin, stuff like that. So that was what caught my eye at first. And I was like, wow, okay, this is great. Now, how can we bring this in the hands of the everyday person who maybe isn't as savvy as, going on their laptop and has MetaMask and has all these things, right? How can we dumb it down some more? And this is where I wanted to jump on board and kind of help them navigate that ship. I've been giving marketing input and I guess integral understanding or framework for what integrations, what things we should add. I started off as kind of the outsider, kind of giving them my insight and what I feel being a user of platforms. And then I became kind of through my experience, I became like, hey, I'm our thought leader for what's next to actually continue to move forward and capture as many people as we want to. And I say capture is not like malicious. The reality is you can flow on and off the Fuse network as easy as any bridge off, of any other network. So, but yeah.
Which isn't terribly easy for a new person who's brand new to crypto, but yeah. So and that's one of the things when I looked at your project, there was two things that stuck out to me. One was a goal of simplicity,
Mhm.
and the second one was the goal of um, um, autonomous commerce, permissionless commerce to the
Mhm.
masses. And that was something that decentralized autonomous commerce. And that's what I meant to say. And permissionless commerce to the masses, and trying to make it easier, which is really a challenge in this space. I mean, it truly is. I mean, I get in my personal life under, me, my personal brand, like people know me, they know what I do, they know I'm in crypto. Most of them don't even know I have a channel, but they know I'm in crypto, and I'm sort of seen as someone who knows what he's doing in crypto. So they'll come to you and ask questions, and it is incredibly the amount of effort that it takes to walk one person who doesn't know anything about this technology step by step on just onboarding.
Yeah.
I did not realize how much we've learned out of passion for this space. You
Yeah.
don't realize what you're picking up along the way till you try to teach someone about it from the beginning. And interesting, and we'll go into like some of your Fuse Cash and some of that stuff. What I was looking at, I did download your wallet and look at it. What I liked about it was you don't necessarily need to know any of that. And fortunately or unfortunately, most people don't care to know. They
Mhm.
don't need to know. Most people don't know how their bank works. They just know they go and get money, right? So that, and if they understood how that works, they'd probably use it a little bit less than they'd be in crypto. But
Yeah.
but can you just I want to dive into some of what Fuse and Voltage is doing, but can you explain kind of the ecosystem and the different components? Because I'll be very candid with you. When I was looking at your project, one of the things that I didn't like a lot is I felt like it was hard for me to make sense of exactly what I was looking at. And that was the challenge. I'm not a total newbie to this space.
Mhm.
And so I saw one thing, and then I see voltage, and I'm like, I kind of got an idea what's trying to happen here, but I don't know. Like if someone said, what are they doing? I can read the front page of the website and I got it. But if I start looking at these components, now you're losing me.
That was one of the first things that I, said, hey guys, like we were already looking at doing a rebrand. Prior, I actually participated in kind of giving my ideas. And what you'll see, which is pretty cool, we're revamping the landing page currently. That landing page you see now with the globe and the capture form and whatnot. Um, that was just because we were doing a Gleam campaign and we wanted everyone to kind of understand and see what we were doing, and we wanted to get our email list together so we could start pushing out all the things that we had upcoming from the DAO, different features we're adding to Voltage Finance and things along those lines. So, and what I'm speaking particularly right now is on the Voltage Finance platform. You probably saw FuseFi prior to Voltage, which was the original name of this DeFi hub that now goes by Voltage. So to clarify, Voltage was FuseFi. So that should shape some clarity, right? And from your perspective of when you come onto the website, you don't have any understanding of what exactly it is. Yes, correct. So I actually designed, content, layered the content for what would be said on the new landing page. And we had our in-house designer actually go through and our front-end developer create this. So now when you hit the landing page, you will see what exactly Voltage is. We're a DeFi hub that allows you to do all things DeFi in one place. That includes lending, staking, farming, all whole nine, right? You scroll down and you see supercharge your experience with Fuse Cash wallet. And then you have links to download both on the Android and the Apple Store, and it explains of what's the purpose of Fuse Cash. You have some FAQs at the bottom to sew up any discrepancies people may have about what's going on. And then it conveys everything that you need, right? So from a quick brief overview, you have a Fuse Cash wallet and you have Voltage Finance. The Fuse Cash wallet essentially can be your new bank, right? And I say that as in, we don't custody any of your money. This is a self-custody wallet. We were actually doing a campaign for early adopters where if you saved your private keys for this wallet, we were giving you Fuse tokens just to do it. We are incentivizing people to understand this is your money. You should have control over it. And we're doing an incentive program where if you held our stable coin on our network called FUSD, it's the same thing as like Binance USD, USDC, USDT, any of the stable coins, it works the same way. If you hold FUSD on your wallet, your Fuse Cash wallet, you were earning a yield, and it was something like 60%. It was pretty high for a stable coin, and that was just to incentivize people to use the wallet, right? So once you understand what the wallet component is for, it's as simple as a Robinhood, a Venmo, a PayPal. For you to be able to take your fiat from your bank account, put it on here, earn a yield 1,000x more than you would ever earn from a Wells Fargo or Bank of America. And you get to keep control, maintain control of your funds, and you can send to anybody who has just a Fuse network wallet. It doesn't have to be the Fuse Cash wallet, but it's also very easy because of the finality and the time frame. I mean, it's fast as can be, and the fee is 0.000001 cent. You know what I'm saying? So it made it really easy for everyday people. You use Zelle or Venmo now. We use the Fuse Cash wallet in the future, and it's instant, and it's basically no fee.
So the Fuse Cash wallet. Okay, I need you to clarify for me. What is the difference in the Fuse wallet and the Fuse Cash wallet? Because when I went, the website I went to, I did not go to FuseFi. I read in the Medium article or whatever that the brand had changed, but I went to a website that was Fuse something else, like Fuse.com or Fuse something else.
IO, yeah, probably Fuse.
Okay, okay, that was probably it. And then I ended up going to Voltage.finance, I think, and I saw the whole DEX and all that. And I covered it in the previous video. But what is the difference? So you got Fuse Network, you got Fuse Wallet, you got Fuse Cash, you got Voltage. Is that operating on the Fuse network? Like, can you clarify these just the parts, where they're at?
Yeah. So Fuse is a EVM compatible full layer 1 network chain. Boom. Right.
So for people who are listening, who may be new, Binance Smart Chain is the same thing. Polygon is the same thing. Solana, I believe, is the exact same thing. So AVAX, Phantom, those are all basically EVM compatible chains. Am I right? So you're right in line with those sort of things. So if you are familiar with those other chains, then Fuse works very similar. You can add it to MetaMask, the whole 9 yards. Okay, that's the Fuse network.
Yeah, very simple for anyone who's trying to. All you do is add, like you said, add it to MetaMask, and you're on board. You're ready to go. You can also bridge over from Ethereum, Binance, Smart Chain, all of those. We actually have our token on Ethereum and Binance, so you can buy the tokens and bridge over if you wanted to, or we have it on a couple central exchanges, MEXC and Gate.io. But yeah, so you have the Fuse network, right? On the Fuse network, you have Voltage Finance. It's a DApp. It's an application that is like a Uniswap, literally Uniswap or a Spooky Swap would be a good comparison. Is on the Fuse network, right? Fuse Cash is a mobile application that is also connected to the Fuse network, right? The connection between all three of these is we built Fuse Cash with in mind that it eventually we will import all of Voltage into the Fuse Cash wallet. So you have the entire DeFi hub with a mobile experience. So for those who don't even know what DeFi means, you can still get access. When you read it in simple terms, lending, borrowing, farming or staking, all of those things are broken down for you, and you understand exactly what it is and the yields you can potentially benefit from. So if I don't even have to explain what cryptocurrencies are to anyone. If I tell you put your money in a savings account, 0.06% is what you're going to get a year. And I say you put it in the Fuse Cash wallet, you get 60% a year. Which one are you going to pick? You see what I'm saying? So that's the easiest way for us to be able to convey why you want to have your money circulating in an economy or a chain that is looking out for you to an extent. And everyone always asks, and I ask the question too, because any savvy investor or just person in general is going to say, well, what's in it for you guys, right? In the DEX Voltage, every time a transaction occurs, it accrues fees, right? There's a slight fee for the network in actual protocol as someone executes a swap or something on those lines, right? So that portion of that swap obviously goes towards the protocol to do things like salaries, maintain the upkeep of the protocol. If you own the Vault token, which is launching this month, so this is really like the focal point of all of this and why we're pushing, for people to understand what exactly we're doing. The Vault token is the governance token for the Voltage platform or Voltage Finance, right? If you own this token and you are staking, you now get a portion of those profits or that revenue generated by the platform. So not only are we saying, hey, we built something for everybody to use and to benefit you way better than any traditional finance application or protocol, but we're going to allow you, if you want stake in this, you can buy some of the tokens, buy a portion shares of this protocol, stake them, and get some of the profits that are generated from what you're already using. So when in this world, if you think of the traditional stocks, if you buy Apple stock, you can get a dividend, right? Or something along those lines. But a dividend is so tiny compared to the revenues accrued by Nike that it almost makes it not even worthwhile, right? You have to have so many of these to make it beneficial. Something compared to like a Volt, owning the Volt token and staking, you can earn a pretty generous yield off of just staking your tokens. So
okay, so wait a minute. If you may not know this about my audience, so I need to say a couple things here. First of all, my audience recently, I was covering a project called the Animal Farm, which is a yield farm, small yield farm, degen yield farm, whatever you want to call it. And it's important for people to understand on my channel that thing was promoted like it was somehow totally revolutionary, and there was some cool, interesting components. The reason it was supposed to be revolutionary is because they had this pig token, and you could stake this pig token and a percentage of the profits. The problem is that's not on its own chain. It's a micro farm. It's 1 to 2 developers trying to do their own thing. Good for them, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. I think innovation comes from small teams, cottage projects. Huge fan of that overall. But what you're talking about here is potentially something operating on an entire network. So you're talking about, quote unquote, if you will, because it was the terminology that was used there, but having a bit of an ownership stake inside of an entire network. And the transaction that happens on that entire DEX inside that network. That's really interesting. Now, I do want a couple of questions because you mentioned the Voltage token. When is the exact date to that, and how would someone be a part of that early on or launch or whatever?
Yeah, so we have a really interesting way we're going to roll this out, right? I guess I'll give you the typical way first. We will have 3 launch pads: Pools Finance, Engine Starter, and Infinity Pad. All 3 list our token as an IDO for a launch pad. And for those of you not familiar with that, it's as simple as you do a KYC, you sign up through either one of those, and they have an allotted amount of tokens we've given them to be able to purchase prior to a launch on Voltage Finance or our DEX, right? That's just to get, people who believe in the project want to get in early. It's a slight discount on what you can get price-wise when it hits the DEX. And the interesting part, or the interesting release that we're doing, is twofold. The Fuse ecosystem round is an idea that the team and I sat down and came up with. Basically, if you have Fuse tokens and you've been participating in the Fuse ecosystem, you can swap your Fuse tokens for Volt tokens. There's 4 vesting schedules, and there's 4 opportunities to do this. They have a different price point. This will last for 1 day, or until the tokens have sold out. And the price point you choose, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 cents, right? We'll just do that for easy sake. So if you choose 1 cent, right, the cheapest price to purchase the swap at, you'll have the longest vesting period, right? And it goes down by 25%.
Hang on just a moment. For those of you that may be watching, because I want to keep catering to brand new people, something I'm always reminding myself of. If you don't understand what a vesting schedule means, it means that you can't sell for a certain amount of time. So this is oftentimes done to prevent early investors from dumping on the market. By the way, the same thing happens in the traditional finance world as well. When people come on with a board with an IPO, typically you get discounted shares, or you have certain types of stock options. And maybe if you get in cheaply, you have to hold for so long so you don't just dump on the market, so to speak. So when he's talking about vesting schedule, he's just saying a holding period. So there's 4 vesting schedules for people that already own the Fuse token, interacted with the Fuse network, and 4 price points, 4 types of vesting schedules for those with the lowest price point having the longest vesting schedule. You were saying?
Yeah, and then as you progress to a more the price increases, your vesting schedule lowers. The highest price point that we have, I believe, is 0.006 cents. That is 100% vested. You get it as soon as you purchase it, basically, as soon as the token goes live. So after the ecosystem round, there'll be a couple days in between, and then we'll do our TGE, which means we'll actually, put the token, mint the token, put it on the DEX, and then that's when the vesting schedule will start. Whether you have a vesting schedule or you did the 100%, you'll get your tokens right away. So that's just something really interesting or different that we haven't really heard or seen anyone else do. And when we say what we explained earlier, vesting schedule just means that you'll have to claim. So you actually have to go claim the tokens. We won't dump them in your wallet and just kind of hope everybody does the right thing. No, we have a schedule to where it will release and you can come and claim your tokens and then now have self-custody, free to do what you want with them. So yeah, that's basically the Fuse ecosystem round. You'll have the Launchpad opportunity. And if you're just a user of the Fuse network and the Voltage platform in particular, haven't given too much detail, but we'll be rolling it out here very, very soon. Now, keep in mind, we will be launching before the month is out. I think the 28th might be the last day that we have for the IDO. I believe so, but Medium articles are about to start pumping here. I've actually drafted up 2 or 3 of them. So you guys will get to see kind of my insight and the information I'm putting out. I'm right-hand manning, when it comes to actually getting it. And then a lot of cases I go back and synthesize it. When you have a bigger team, stuff gets lost in translation. But when you're communicating directly with people and then you're taking the information and giving it, and I'm fortunate enough that I can kind of put my ideas and thoughts together, not just verbally, but also on paper. So I can push these things out to, the community. But yeah, that'll be coming out here soon.
That's incredible. So by the end of the month, so it should hit the DEX when? Next month?
Yeah. So I guess whenever we finish up our IDO and part of these launch pads, right? They're always, a day or 2, sometimes 3 days they drag out. Depends on when they finish up selling all the tokens out or when they want to close it off. So, but 24 hours after we've completed all our launch pads and the Fuse ecosystem round will follow those. After that's over, the following will be anywhere from 24 to 48 hours after we will launch it on the DEX, and we'll let everyone know. We'll make sure it's well known when it's going to go live.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have links to the Medium articles. Well, not the Medium article, the Discord, Telegram, whatever they have, website. I'll put those links in the description as well. I recommend you all are pretty active on Telegram.
Yeah. So a Telegram, we just launched the Discord not too long ago. It's got about 600 members in it now. And this is, not even a month. We pushed it out there and it was pretty casual. We didn't make a big to-do. We didn't do a lot of, giveaways or anything like that. We just want to, if you like Discord, we know some people have bad blood with Discord. It's kind of difficult for them to use, but Telegram's easy. We have an announcement channel. If you don't really care to be in all the hustle and bustle, you can just join the announcement channel and just see, the premier updates we give you guys. And Twitter is always my number one option. I'm always on Twitter posting stuff, retweeting. So you guys get to see all the action from that angle.
Okay, so that's important. What I was going to say is always find out where your projects are active, especially, you're not talking about an Ethereum here. You're talking about smaller projects with engaged teams. So Zach said he's active on Twitter. What is your Twitter, Zach? Go ahead and put that out there just so people have it.
Yeah, it'll be Volt Finance. It's the @Volt Finance on Twitter. And my personal is @ZM_PLP. And I push all types of things on my personal. So I should put a little disclaimer. Thoughts are my own. So you guys will see me talking about other projects, other things. You have sneakerheads. I'm a crypto head. So I'm always looking at other stuff and not even just to be maybe an investor or things along those lines, but also when someone does something great, it's kind of still like an artist, right? Take great things that they've done and incorporate it into what you're doing. If it works, if it's successful, and if it's beneficial to the ecosystem. So
Absolutely. Now, what is Volt.finance was Twitter. And ladies and gentlemen, so Twitter, if you're on Twitter, that's important. If you're not on these social media platforms and you're in crypto, it's important that you figure out where you need to be at. Telegram's oftentimes really popular for some projects. Some projects tend to be more active in Discord. I have both. I typically don't follow projects on both platforms. Personally, I find the one that they're the most active in, and that's the one I follow. He talked about being on the announcement channel and then avoiding the hustle and bustle. I get right into the hustle and bustle sometimes when I'm following a project. Even if I don't comment, I'm like checking things out. I'm reading stuff. I want to get a feel for the community. But if you are part of the community, even as an observer, then I recommend that you're going to always be in the know of what's going on. Now, communities are strange. You know, you always got the 10% that think everything's going to the moon, and you got the 10% that are pissed off that it's not going to the moon. So that's just how it is. I mean, you can't let I always say there's 10% of people in the world that's always miserable, about something. And that's just the case, ladies and gentlemen. But it's worth it to be following the community, what's going to be said, especially admins in there or team leads or developers or whoever's commenting. Pay attention to that stuff, ladies and gentlemen. When people say do your own research, the easiest way to do research is to see what are people saying now, today about a project. And you're going to hear about ideas getting fleshed out. Like you're literally in some of these groups, you're on cutting edge as things are getting talked about. You're watching things get developed. And that's incredibly exciting in the crypto space. So I want to ask you, I want to shift focus here for just a little bit. What is it? And I'm going to be candid. So I'm going to ask you a tough question. And I should say this, ladies and gentlemen, it's already denoted on the video when you're watching this video. This is sponsored content. I was paid for this interview, but it is a privilege for me to be here. I do not accept every opportunity that comes my way, not by a long shot. And I review every opportunity that comes my way. And when I looked at this project, I saw what they were doing, and they were doing really what the fundamental purpose of Bitcoin was supposed to do, at least in the way that it was communicated in the white paper, essentially, not the white paper from a technical standpoint, but if you look at some of the discussions that was happening around Bitcoin back in the day, people wanted a way to be able to have permissionless custodial, meaning in their control of their own finances. And that's exactly what this project, for lack of better terms, is working to do so well. So there's a couple of things I want to ask you, Zach. First of all, what does it look like in the future? Like if Fuse accomplished and Voltage accomplished all of their goals, what would be, as far as you understand or as far as your vision, what would be the end result, the end product? Let's just say Fuse hit mass adoption. Like what would be the end product?
So you would see a blend between a Robinhood, as far as mobile application, you would see a blend between something like a Robinhood, and obviously like Fuse Cash. So you have your own custody of things along those lines, with the easy, user experience, onboarding process. Yeah, mix between like a Coinbase, a Robinhood, and Fuse Cash, right? Or MetaMask per se. And then on the web, you would see something in combination between the same mobile platform, but just accessible via your laptop or any type of computer. That's in terms of what our actual UI would look like, right? In terms of like global sentiment, our CEO Mark usually likes to compare us. He hates Facebook with a passion, and he hates Visa. And I shouldn't say hates, that's a strong word, but he has a strong dislike because he feels like everybody should be able to take part in the fees accrued to basically create economic energy, right? If you create a medium for people to transfer energy, you should be rewarded for that. And there shouldn't be one person hoarding the keys to do that. That's how he feels, and this is kind of what we went after. So the pat on our back when it's all said and done is that we facilitate a decentralized platform for anybody to be able to create their own economy, to be able to be sovereign in their finances. It could be a digital nomad. You can live stationary, whatever it is. You still have access to do all these things. I'm not necessarily sure that the current businesses are keen to adopt, the format and the payment structure for cryptocurrencies very in the near future. I know you see stuff. You see Russia's accepting Bitcoin, and El Salvador is doing these things, and you keep seeing all this stuff, and it makes it seem like it's so much closer than it really is. But until you can go down to your local grocery store and give them whatever token you feel like it and pay for something, we're not really there yet. And I don't know if they will ever get to that point because they have interests to protect as well. So I don't know. What I think the thing to look forward to is everyone should specialize or find what they do well, right? And I think they should start bringing these services to the public. And with that, I think they should elect to be paid in either a token of their choosing, on particular something like a Fuse, a Bitcoin, whatever that looks like, right? To start creating this crypto economy flow that we need to get going. I think that's the only way that we see mass adoption outside of the government regulated version of it.
That's not mass adoption. If you're talking about like central bank digital dollar bullshit.
Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know anything about central bank digital dollars, it's just as simple as I just got to say this. Justin Trudeau in Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, is telling people they cannot, he's attempting to tell people they can't transact in crypto, but he's also doing things like taking their insurance away and stuff like that. A central bank digital dollar would give him the ability to literally, within a matter of moments to start and probably within hours complete, turn off people's finances 100%. A central bank digital dollar allows them to devalue, move, inflate, deflate, turn off individual wallets, turn off individual crypto, meaning like you have crypto in your, and by the way, Tether can do this, USDC can do this, all of those, BUSD probably can do this, all those centralized stable coins, and I'm not saying that they ever would do it, but I'm just saying you need to understand that's there, and they could literally you could have USD value, you could have USD stable coins, but if they're centralized, literally someone can make it where those specific coins in your wallet are unspendable. That's crazy and scary. Where decentralized crypto, you can't do that. No one can make your Bitcoin. No one person can say your Bitcoin is devalued. And no one person can say your, whatever, Ethereum probably is devalued. Your Litecoin. Now, no one person, the creator of Litecoin basically dumped all his Litecoin, said he was out. And guess what? It's still running, it's still existing, and development is still taking place. So that's important for you to understand. That's the difference in decentralized versus centralized. And I want to piggyback on that a little bit with Fuse, because I want to get clear on the long-term mission. You talked about from a user standpoint, which that is what I asked. But from behind the scenes, is the goal for this project to ultimately be fully decentralized, even as a business, meaning that the business at some point somewhat goes away outside of development? How does that look? See, that's the challenge with decentralization. There's no money in decentralization unless you're the early adopter, you hold a lot of voltage tokens in this case, potentially. I don't know how do you transition to that?
Yeah, so there's a concept in the space called a progressive DAO, and I've spoken about this to a few other people, and I've spoken, on other shows and whatnot about this as well. So progressive DAO, it basically allows you to put all the pieces together and make sure it runs properly, and then slowly hand it over to the community or to the people, and remove yourself out of it, right? You always have to figure out who your leader is, and the integrity that they possess, before you kind of give yourself trust. So like we all have given Bitcoin a level of trust, outside of the understanding. We always say Bitcoin's trustless, third party, no need for a third party, whatnot, right? But the reality is that you don't necessarily know who developed, Bitcoin, right? So the docs and the non-doxing situation that we have currently going, right, where we were talking about this, there's a problem where people say, if I can't see your face, I can't trust you. But how many people deceive you in front of your face? It makes it difficult for people to trust. So what we say is we're going to just build, put things in place that we know are great, and then hand it over to the community. if you guys, we pray that anybody who has vested interest, which, I believe everyone who invests will, if it breaks, we have a core team to fix if we go too far deep, basically. But we want the innovation, we want the creativity, and this is not just for Voltage, this is for the Fuse ecosystem as a whole, to come on board. We don't want to stifle that by being such sticklers on, you can't put a meme coin on our decks. No, bro, like bring your meme coins, bring whatever you want on here. It's up to the community and people to decide who is quote unquote whitelisted on who develops projects or who makes something, on our network, right? We don't want to be the people that's ruling with the iron fist and stopping innovation and stopping creativity. We want this to grow, and we want this to be the network of innovation and creativity, right? So I guess I bounced around a lot of different things to kind of get at the point that that's really the ethos of the Fuse network. And for you to understand, or for anyone to understand where we're coming from, you first have to get that. Like we want to, there's a Fuse DAO already. So don't get me wrong. The Fuse network already has a DAO, and they, sit in, there's an assembly that sits in on projects and issues out grants and things along those lines that we think will be great catalysts for the Fuse network. In Voltage, after the launch of the token, we will progressively be moving. We will have proposals live and everything along those lines. Governance will be active as soon as, the token is launched. But as we continue to move, those first proposals, the first month or two, while everybody's still figuring out what exactly do we want to happen, what's already going on internally, what partnerships do we have, then once the community has a better feel of what we've been working on internally, then we can start saying, all right, you guys get XYZ, what would be beneficial for Voltage to do next? Throw a proposal up, whatever the people say is what we go,
It's very interesting. I think DAOs have to be the way of the future, right? Specifically, if you want to continue to innovate, because Bitcoin's not getting enough innovation on it on a voluntary basis. Although I think voluntary basis may change if we continue to see, if the oppressive trend of governments continue, we may see more voluntary activism almost in crypto. But I think you have to go to a DAO, and I don't think people understand. Like, for example, I think it was Uniswap that the U.S. government went after them for putting the Mira project on Uniswap, where people could trade like Mira tokens with representative stock values of like Tesla and stuff like that. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Mira protocol, basically they have tokenized which is very fascinating in a decentralized finance world. Basically, it's probably one of the more unique crossovers of traditional finance and DeFi, in my opinion. But basically, they've tokenized the values using probably Oracle or something of the they are using oracles, but of stock prices. And they've tokenized those values, and you can trade them, but you're no longer able to trade them on Uniswap, at least I don't think in the US. And something funny happened when Uniswap suddenly came out with this announcement. It was the first centralized intervention, really, of Uniswap that people had seen. And it was like, wait, you can't do that. You're not supposed to do that. You're a decentralized exchange. So they came out and said, we didn't do it to the smart contract. You can still go to the smart contract, which is not user-friendly for the average person, will never figure it out. You can still do it on the smart contract. We can't change that. But they had to comply with government regulatory pressures. We just see where BlockFi, you're talking about decentralized finance, people getting, 60% APY at one point on for adoption on one of your on your Fuse tokens or whatever. And if you go look at the voltage.finance DApp DEX, there's a lot of high APYs on there. Well, BlockFi just got in trouble for providing centralized returns of 9.25%. That's it, ladies and gentlemen, 9% a year. Most of us in the yield farming space won't even roll over good for 9%. We won't even think about it. We'll sleep right through 9%. Like, keep going. We're trying to get 20%, 50% or more. And they were giving out 9.25%. The government, the SEC, gave them an arbitrary fine of $100 million. Random arbitrary fine. No victims. You can go look this up. Just happened a few days ago. No victims, satisfied customers. They got fined. And I think that that's the challenge with crypto that people don't understand that are new to this space. And that is that long-term governments don't want this. Correct. And people think that finance is here. They say, oh, there's too much money here. Ladies and gentlemen, the amount of traditional financial players that are here are only here for a little bit of a speculative win, but
Mhm.
it's a pebble and a fucking bucket. Like, it is nothing. It is
Mhm.
absolutely nothing that's here right now. And I don't want to get too far on that tangent, but it's important to understand we have to get a decentralization. But here's my question for you, Zach. Do you think DAOs can actually work? I mean, democracies fail. Can DAOs actually work?
Um, yes. And I say this because this is a question that I was just, talking to myself in terms of actually the US, in what I think the current state, and not to get political or anything like that, but this is something that I was trying to transpose into the crypto space, right? Um, I think it's tough because you don't necessarily know, like I said, who put the structure together, to allow it to be successful. It's like the Constitution, right? Well, the Constitution says all the things that we need basically to be able to function properly, but yet we see abuse of certain powers. So the same thing with the DAO, right? If everybody kind of complies and everybody does what's supposed to be done, and votes and does things in the best interest, I think we'll be okay. I think the benefit of a DAO over a traditional democracy, like where we go place our votes, is that you're not really placing your vote with skin in the game, right? You don't have financial incentive. Like when we go to the ballot box, you're not saying I have to pay $100 to throw my vote in, because that now it means more. Now you understand more, what you're putting in, right? When you have a DAO, you have to own these tokens, meaning you had to buy into this protocol, whatever it may be, or an NFT, whatever, because DAOs are using NFTs and stuff as well, to have access to vote, on different proposals or propose a new idea. So I think like the skin in the game aspect of a DAO is gonna be a very good experiment in the future. And I say experiment because we still don't know if that will solve the problem, or stop overtakings or undertakings, however you want to, phrase it. But I believe there's hope. I believe that there's a chance that DAOs can withstand the test of time, as long as you get creative too with voting. Like we can't just be who owns the most tokens. It's gotta be different formats and different. We've gotten pretty creative with how we go about ours as well. You'll see more information on that coming out here soon. So, but yeah, I believe there it's a possibility they can stretch the test of time for sure.
I think it's interesting. I don't personally. You said what you said at the end. I agree with. Like, I don't think DAOs can work in the short term as a open DAO. Anybody vote holding the most tokens, and the reason is because without a lot of maturity happening in the space. Because I've watched this happen with project after project. People go in Telegram, put up votes, and then the dev team stupidly follow the votes, because they're quote unquote listening to the community, and 6 months the project is dead because they listen to the community. Because
Mhm.
the investor will always vote themselves a short-term gain over long-term, right? Always. Like, go into any project that has adjustable emissions, a masternode project, and go into a Telegram and say, hey, we're thinking about increasing rewards. You want us to do that? Invariably 70-80% of people say yes, increase rewards, not realizing what you're doing is killing all values. You're killing the price. You can never, anyway. So DAOs routinely make that kind of mistake. But you said something there. You said it can't be just who holds the most tokens.
Yeah.
I
So,
think a big component of that is also time weighting those tokens, meaning who's held them the longest, also is a part of it. Um, but you run into a problem there too, don't you? Because then it's hard to get fresh thinking to break through in a way. So there could be a problem there.
so what, an idea that I have a personal project I kind of develop, but not to the fullest extent. And I also, work on little private projects and stuff like that on my own. And just because you danced around an idea that I've had in my head, both with mirror finance and with this voting schedule for a DAO, right? The idea is that if you lock up your tokens for a certain period of time, this is what my brother and I came up with. If you lock up your tokens for a certain period of time, you get a governance multiplier, and you also get a higher yield, for staking the tokens, right? That in itself says if you're willing to risk your financial investment for 6 months or 12 months, whatever the lockup period is, we'll give you a higher APY for doing this, and we'll give you more votes because you're really vested in the long-term growth. If you need to survive, you need this token to survive for 6 months for you to be able to pull out any type of profits. So you think differently about the decisions you vote on, and you have more say. So that was one interesting way. And we combined that with a quadratic voting schedule, meaning as you hit a certain threshold, the tokens that you have become less than just one full vote. So let's say 1,000 tokens equal 1,000 votes. Anything over 1,000 equals 0.75 of a vote, 0.75 of one vote. So there's stuff like that. You really have to get creative and think, how can we make sure there's not just a run on the protocol where somebody who has a fat wallet just buys up a bunch of tokens right before the snapshot and then votes in favor of them making a short-term gain every single time. So you hit it over the head. And that's something that my brother and I are instituting in our protocol, which is separate from voltage or fuse or anything like that. But yeah, you hit it over the head, man. That is something you have to take to very much deep consideration if you want a project to be successful long term.
Well, it has to. Like, you have to get governments governments around the world are not going to be friendly to the idea of direct competition, and it's because traditional finance backs governments around the world. Let's not get that twisted. Traditional finance is fighting to keep the old system in place that helps the rich get richer, and it's more difficult for the little guy to rise up. And I love what you were saying about the whole concept of a DAO. One interesting thing there is, what if you actually got lower yield longer term, but you got a higher weighted voting? That way, the guys who are in it for the guys that are in it for the quick, or this is stuff that gets me going. Like I've consulted on projects about this stuff because it's the tokenomic. We have a unique. The idea being, the guys who want the fast money, they're not going to stick around. But the guys who want to be vested, they want the voting power. And they're okay to get the lower returns because they're getting longer returns. They're accumulating tokens, that sort of thing. So it's very interesting. We have a unique experience in finance, and Fuse is really a part of this. And that's what I saw about the project. And it's the thing that I like most about the project. And I have another tough question for you about the project. But what I liked most is I saw them trying to think objectively and reshape finance. You see, the only time this has ever happened in the history of the world was in when the U.S. government was created. Is one of the only times that people were, could objectively construct what they wanted this framework to look like. Mm-hmm. And there's no more countries going to be discovered. There's no more land masses, but this is even bigger than that. You're talking about a bunch of creative, smart, innovative, individual, liberty-minded, collective, average people wanting to come together and say, how can we make this better? And what's really unique about crypto, and if you look at what Fuse is doing specifically in their space, is it doesn't have to be limited to one group or one idea. The collective, because of the individual nature of crypto, the collective will vote with what they want to do with their finances, right? With their wallets. Mm-hmm. So I love that. And I love what Fuse is doing in that ecosystem. And I'm looking at what Voltage is doing. There's something that bugs me. Two more difficult questions for you. The first one is this: your market cap sitting roughly at like $36 million right now. What you guys are looking to take on literally could change the entire world. No question about it. I was having a conversation with my wife last night. She doesn't understand a lot about crypto, and she goes, "Why are you in this space?" I said, because this is the one space in the world where and I looked at her and I said, yours and mine only is all I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Our future and our fortune in this space. And I meant monetarily, and I meant creatively, and I meant innovatively. I said, just any individual, we may make nothing. This place is volatile. It may never reach maturity in our lifetime. That is a possibility. That could happen. Mm-hmm. I said, or any one or two individuals could change the entire world, or a small group of individuals could truly change the entire world in this space. And and collectively, I think we're all part of that change. And I think it's incredible. I want to ask you though, what do you think Fuse is struggling compared to the other chains out there? They're nowhere near the market cap. They're nowhere near the size, and have nowhere near the adoption. You can go to DApp Radar. There's not near the volume there, just being candid. Mm-hmm. And so why do you feel like you guys are having a hard time getting that traction at this moment?
I think we got to be, open and honest and say that, the truth. One, and this is no excuse, by the way. Fuse is not all that old, right? Been around for a couple of years. And two, if you want to know the truth behind the other chains that blew up the way they did, it's because there's a lot of investors behind what's going on. There's a lot of money that was propped up to be able to facilitate these chains to grow, to incentivize. I mean, Avalanche is giving out $100 million for developers to come build. Phantom Network's doing the same thing, right? So as much as we want to sit there and feel like, oh, this is super decentralized, and what they say on paper is what it is. It's like the reason why Fuse grows organically and it dips and rises with the market as anything should, because it's real people investing. This is not propped up by fictitious or fake investors, investor money to make it appeal that if you look at the chart, when everything else was running, so was Fuse. We were up to $2.15 less than a month ago, which was like a 200 mil market cap at the time. So I mean, everything's kind of hit this, got hit in the head basically and fell down for the time being. But as far as global adoption, everyone will see what Fuse is really trying to do. And it's like, I hate to compare us to this chain because I don't like it at all. I think Cardano is a stable coin, to be honest with you. But Cardano, the mission that Charles Hoskins was trying to do was just similar. Or we'll say we're similar in the likes that it was created for people, and it was created for at least an opportunity, right? Like you touched on something that was very important, and this is philosophical in nature, but I think important to understand for anybody getting into crypto or continuing to stay in. You got two options, right? Either you keep your money in fiat and you allow them to continue to devalue your dollar by the printing, or you take a shot at something that you may not have all the answers to. You buy crypto, you may not know who Satoshi is. You may not know my name, Zach Miller, you may not know me from a can of paint, right? But you say, you know what? I believe in people more than I believe in governments. So at least give somebody a shot. I'm not, trying to pump, trying to ride off in the sunset. And I think that most people need to understand, if you're really in this and you've been in this for years, your mindset flips from how can I make the most US dollars in Bitcoin, from how can I get the most tokens? How can I want to accumulate the most Fuse tokens. I want to accumulate the most Bitcoin that I can. I'm not trying to see how much I can get in the US dollar, any currency that you live in or you utilize, because that doesn't matter. The fiat is infinite. It's useless. Don't count a valuable resource in a useless, with a useless resource. It doesn't make sense. So like the switch that has to come on board for a lot of people, think in terms of tokens, not in terms of dollar value. And it sounds crazy because the rebuttal is always going to be, well, I can't spend 1 million Fuse tokens if they're worth, pennies, right? It doesn't do me any good. But in the future, if adoption continues to happen, everything rises as one. So
yeah, that's interesting. And we could have a whole philosophical, I would enjoy just having philosophical content with you, because I think that the problem with what you just said, even though I agree with it on its merits from a philosophical standpoint, the problem is everything's going to be denoted in a universal value somewhere. So even if that universal value is Bitcoin, a universal value is tick marks, there's going to be a universal value that across tokens, even when your Fuse wallet hands me tokens, even then there's going to be a universal value created. This is true even in the international markets with other currencies. Many of them are backed by or pegged to or tied to loosely through their own treasuries, for example, the US dollar and or some precious metals in some case. So I think especially when we go to a more global society, I think it's going to be challenging to say, I agree with you. It's really about just collecting crypto. By the way, that's how I keep myself from selling. Like I got friends of mine who can't handle it. They cannot handle the emotional swings. And I always have the mindset, my current values are growing like everybody's who's been in the space for any length of time. It's nuts to look at it. My current values can go down by 95% any given day or time, depending on what the world governments decide to do. That is a real possibility. And if you understand that and you're okay, people are like, I need to sell at the top. Nope, I just need to collect more. Because long term, it still wins. Long term, it still wins. There's no, I don't know if it happens in 5 years or 50 years, but long term, it still wins. So I just need to collect more. So I agree with it from that standpoint, and I think it's interesting. You're right at the heart of what Fuse is trying to do. I mean, when you say the CEO hates Visa and Facebook, and it's essentially because of the centralized controls of those ecosystems. That's why. I mean,
Yeah.
Visa is crazy.
Yeah.
It's no different. It's fascinating, and people need to know this when they're watching it, because I want you to get an idea of what Fuse is doing. What I love more about this project than anything else, and I'm going to be following this project. That's not investment advice. I'm not telling you I'm investing in the project. I didn't say that. I'm going to be following this project because more than anything, they get it. Like, they get it. Most people don't realize when you go pay with Bitcoin on a normal everyday site, not a crypto site, somebody accepts Bitcoin payments. I sold a membership service for a while, and people kept messaging me, "Do you take in Bitcoin? Do you take in Bitcoin?" But what they're not realizing is that when someone accepts Bitcoin, they're not accepting Bitcoin. They're literally not. There's a third party company that converts those Bitcoins to dollars.
Correct.
Because in our current economic system, that there's an enormous tax headache trying to do business in cryptocurrency. You have, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So even though people may think they're seeing more and more places accept Bitcoin, and those are probably businesses that are open to the technology, mind you, that's why they're doing that. But still, they have to rely on the traditional payment processors, of which Visa backs or directly runs many of them. And so you got this thing where we're still stuck on a traditional financial system, and we're not going to break away from it until individuals want to. And then before individuals can want to, it's got to be simple to use. And I love what you guys are doing from that standpoint. All right, we'll wrap up. I got two more questions for you. One is, what's the biggest weakness that you currently see as an organization or project that you guys need to improve upon?
Team, we got to build. We got to build. Now, I don't mean as in the connection. We're all great. We get along. The CMO for the Fuse Network, his name is Robert Miller, and we're not related whatsoever, by the way. But everyone thinks we are. He speaks with a British accent. He's from Europe, so completely different. But we need to expand. Like we know it. We're throwing out ads to find like-minded individuals the same way they found me. They can find other people to speak to what exactly we're doing. And I think when you get into our environment, it's based out of Israel. Tel Aviv is the home office, but everyone is remote all over the world. That in itself allows you to speak your mind, kind of speak your truth and how you feel about it. And we all take it in consideration because we want to build something that those who in the space get, but also know how to translate because they came from the outside. Basically, they wanted to know all the insides and outs. So that's what I think the biggest thing is. We just need to grow. We need to get more people on board. And I think the communication to our audience will definitely ramp up when we have more hands in place. You only do so much. I can speak to crypto wealth. I can write articles, I can do whatever it is that I can do to get the word out, but it's only so much, one person can do or two or three can do in terms of exposure. We need more eyes on what we're doing so more people can understand.
And one more question for you. But before I go there, I want to say this, ladies and gentlemen, if you are passionate or you've resonated, there's a certain percentage of you that reach out to me from time to time and you hear me talk about these topics. And we've talked about some of these philosophical topics that we want to see become more tangible, that Fuse is working to make more tangible. And if you resonate with that on some sort of a deep level, I encourage you to go to the Telegram, reach out to Zach or go to Voltage 5 Minutes, tweet somebody, be persistent, be a part of the team, be a part of a solution. It takes all of us to be a part of that. This ecosystem needs people that want to take action as opposed to people who just want to daydream, so to speak. So I love the fact that you guys are boots on the ground. And I want to give you credit, Zach, because you're starting out as an influencer, which is a big deal. Creating a social media account, putting out that first video and knowing nobody watched it but my mama, that was hard. Putting up those first videos for a while. And then I remember that first video I got 10 views on. And it was like, like that was a breaking moment. I have encouraged everybody to create social media profiles because it's so rewarding in the long term, but the short term sucks. And the fact that you did that is awesome. But then you took it a whole nother level level and you got involved and you're actually playing a part of what you believe in this ecosystem. And I think that's rare in society that people to do that. So kudos to you for that. And for this team, I think that's freaking phenomenal. I appreciate you taking time. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I want to ask you one more question about fuse and voltage. I want to ask you, what is the thing that part of the project, or maybe the thing that you are the most proud of for the future, or the most excited about for the future? Like what's to come? What can you talk about that you're excited about?
I'm torn between how creative we're gonna get with the new structure of a DAO, right? And the voting mechanism, some of the stuff that you and I were just bouncing around, because I kind of get handle over those things, and I get to really throw out some thoughts that haven't been tried or haven't been expressed in any other protocol. So I'm torn between the DAO and just the actual application, how far Fuse Cash is going to change and evolve into such an easy user experience that anybody, I mean, everyone can do it now. It's a very easy, usable experience now, but I want it to be even more basic. I want it to, incorporate things like how Coinbase has the Coinbase Learn. I want, instead of it just being learn about this project on Coinbase, I want it to be on Fuse Cash. I want it to be, this is why we made this feature because of XYZ. Learn these things, and then you will understand the power you're unlocking by using our protocol. And this is something that I spoke when I first came in. The education, and like we were saying earlier, the philosophical questions that need to be asked, you almost become a journalist or like an analyst to even get into cryptocurrency, because you have to understand what's broken, like what's wrong, why do I want to buy this in order to do it. And that's what a lot of people are missing. They just go, oh, okay, it's just an investment, another way to invest. It's like, no, this is a whole new paradigm we're going into, and you need to understand why. So that's my I guess thing that drives me, is I want to really explain through the Fuse Cash wallet to reach the masses why you need to start learning what crypto is, blockchain technology, and how to utilize it. So,
and ladies and gentlemen, you can download that now. It's on the, I know it's on the Android. Is it on Apple or no?
yeah, it's on both.
It's on, and it's how do you, it's Fuse Wallet, right? What do you look for?
Yeah, it's gonna be Fuse Cash is what it's called. Fuse
Cash. Okay, Fuse Cash.
I
downloaded it.
Yeah, it'll be green and white.
Okay. I downloaded it, and it is it was easy to download. And I do have a question about your own ramp, by the way, for fiat. Sorry, I forgot, I meant to ask this earlier. I think it's the ramp network or whatever that you all use. Mm-hmm. How available is that for US citizens?
I believe we're in 38 states ramp works in. Okay. Might be more or less added now, but there's a couple of states that are really a bummer that they don't have on there, and I believe Florida's one. I live in Georgia. Georgia's accessible. And there's a lot of other states that, so most states you'll have access to. Works pretty fluidly all throughout Europe and Africa as well. So we're working on Eurasia and Asia as a whole, and then trying to get more in South America.
So if those of you that don't know this, if you go to, I think it's Cash App or whatever, and you try to buy crypto through there, that not only is it custodial, you don't have access to it, but they will block you from transacting in some cases with cryptocurrency. So you need to be aware of that. Like you cannot go, you can buy Bitcoin if you just want to hold and speculate on price, but they monitor where you send that. And they don't want you actually sending Bitcoin out of the wallet. They don't want that. So it's not really usable in the ecosystem. An alternative would be something like Fuse Cash, the Fuse Cash wallet. Like this, you're talking about getting access to DeFi inside of the wallet in a much more better user experience. Okay, listen, there's a lot of wallets out there, and I could name names. You all know you're already using them, but you're talking about finding a way to buy crypto, interact with the system, with the goal of being user simple. So like that's what all these better than MetaMask type wallets that exist for mobile, just trying to, I don't want to give names, and I don't want to discourage anyone or disparage anyone else's project, because I appreciate the innovation in this space, but developers make things that they think is simple and it's complex for a new person.
Mhm.
The Fuse wallet, when you go there to buy, like I went through, like I was going to make a transaction, and really the only reason I didn't is because I didn't know if it would work. Now I'm like, damn, I should have. But it looks so simple, like so simple. The onboarding process, like to make a buy, I was like, wow, holy, there's not a million options, for example. And I encourage you, Zach, just, as an outsider, I know you guys want to implement the DeFi component, but however you do that in the UI, I'm no designer. I encourage you, please do what you can to either make that a second layer menu where it's not overly obvious until you become more savvy on the product, or make it where it's at least incredibly simple. Maybe they don't even realize exactly that they're staking to Voltage Finance. They just realize they're earning an interest by doing something. I don't know how that looks, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying, just focus on keeping it simple, because I feel like we need more of that in crypto. Anything else that you would like to wrap up with?
Man, I think we covered it all. Like we've gone in more depth than any interview I've had in the last week. So I really appreciate your thoroughness with allowing everyone to understand what exactly we're after here. With the Fuse ecosystem and Voltage as a whole. And I guess just a reminder for everyone, like keep your eyes up on our Twitter and Telegram. We will be launching into this month. So if you want to get in, if you understand what's going on, even if you don't, and you're just kind of curious. I encourage everyone to get at the start, right? You look at how all these other, L1 chains, your Solanas, your Avalanche, how they've just ramped up over time. And I obviously included, understanding how much investment that they have. It's not that nobody wanted to invest in, the Fuse network or anything along those lines. The truth of the matter is we actually refused a lot of money because we wanted to build it without this constant dump pressure because we took so much VC money to get it going. That wasn't the idea. You need a baseline, you need a startup. But Marcio has been in the game for a long time. He's almost 20 years now. So like he's been developing for prior to doing Web3 and blockchain development. He's been doing this for a long time, and he's got a lot of people in the space that believe in him. So, but that's it. Yeah, I appreciate the time, man.
That's so incredible, Zach. I appreciate it. Now, again, I want to give a shout out to Fuse, what they're doing in the ecosystem. We need this. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you've appreciated this very candid interview, then I would appreciate if you smash that like button, give me a subscribe, click the bell notification icon, and click all. Stay tuned. I've got something incredible coming up for you in the next couple of videos. I appreciate it. Take care. Remember, decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.